Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about the 6 trigonometric functions. We already know SOHCAHTOA, sine, cosine, and tangent. Here they are again, just for your reference. The ratios are pretty easy to remember because SOHCAHTOA is a really nice way to remember our trigonometric functions, at least the base 3. So we know sine, cosine, and tangent. But did you know there are 3 more? Clearly you did, because the title of this video is 6 trigonometric functions. Again, we have our SOHCAHTOA functions, sine, cosine, and tangent. But take a look at the 3 new ones. Cosecant is hypotenuse over opposite, which is exactly the inverse or opposite of sine. Secant of theta is hypotenuse over adjacent, which is the exact opposite or inverse of cosine. And then we have cotangent, which is adjacent over opposite, which is exactly the opposite or inverse of tangent. So what do you notice about these 6 functions? Yes, the new 3 functions are inverses or opposites of the original 3. Sine and cosecant, cosine and secant, tangent and cotangent. Now, these are easy to remember. Number 1, because we have tangent and cotangent. Pretty simple. Now, sine and cosecant and cosine and secant, the way I like to remember them is if it starts with an S, it has to start with a C. 2 S's can't be alike and 2 C's cannot be alike, right? So that is another great way to remember what we're doing. Now, with the new functions, we can also use another type of inverse relationship to represent them. We know that sine values are y values, cosine values are x values, and tangent values are y over x, or sine divided by cosine. The inverse functions, the 3 new ones that we now know or now have seen, have that inverse relationship and carry it over as well. If sine values are y values, cosecant values are just 1 divided by whatever that y value is, or 1 divided by sine. Moving through cosine and secant with the same inverse relationship. Tangent and cotangent are probably the easiest to see in terms of that inverse relationship, or the opposite relationship that we're looking at here, where tangent is y over x and cotangent is x over y. Cosine values are our x values. So this root 2, or first root 2 over 2, is a cosine value. If you were to put cosine 45 in your calculator, well, that might not be fair, because you'd get a decimal and it'd be 0.7 something or other. It'd be like 0.707. Well, 0.707 is the fraction root 2 over 2. Now again, if we were to do sine of 45, we would also get 0.707, but that translates to root 2 over 2. What the relationship is with our trigonometric functions is they have direct impact, at least cosine and sine, in terms of what the ordered pairs are on the coordinate plane. Our unit circle of radius 1, all x values are cosine values. All sine values are y values. Sine and cosine are like the parent functions or the base functions of trigonometric ratios. Clearly, because you can see they don't have any other pieces to their ratio. Tangent is the beginning of where things change a little bit. Now, on the coordinate plane and on our unit circle, we have to, that was the dog, he did something that probably should not have happened. I'm wondering if he got a tissue box, because he's been into those lately. Hey buddy, if I come out there and the tissue box is tore up, we're gonna have a problem. And when I mean we, I mean you. Be right back. Okay. Sine and cosine, tangent. Now tangent is the ratio, or the change of the ratio, y over x. Now on here on the coordinate plane or on a unit circle, there is no actual value of tangent. There is no actual value of cosecant, secant, or cotangent. We have to manipulate the cosine and sine in order to get what we want. So tangent, or to find a tangent value, is we're going to do y over x. Now, let's think about that for a second. If you were to put tangent in the calculator, because remember, our calculators, both scientific and graphing, have a tangent button. They don't have these new 3 function buttons, and that's okay, because we can just manipulate them based on what they show us on the ratio. But if you were to put tangent of 45 in your calculator, you better get 1. And that makes sense, because if I do sine divided by cosine, root 2 over 2 divided by root 2 over 2 is 1. So, a little bit more on that later at another video. Cosecant is 1 over y, and we know that because sine and cosecant are inverses of each other. Secant is 1 over x because cosine and secant are inverses of each other. And cotangent and tangent, that might be the easiest one to remember. It's just the reverse of that as well. Moving on. Now, when we talk about the 3 brand new trig functions to your world, we can use them just like we've used them before when we have right triangles, right triangle trigonometry, or any other functionality with the unit circle. Really and truly, anything to do with pre-calculus or trig, these new functions come really in handy. So let's check it out. Here I got a right triangle, and I'm trying to find cosecant of theta. Now, let's just take it, I want a ratio. I'm not really looking for a value yet. I just want to see if I can find the ratio of theta in terms of cosecant. Well, let's recall what cosecant is. Cosecant is the inverse of sine. So if we know that sine is so, sine of theta is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. Well, cosecant being its inverse of sine, cosecant is going to be the exact reverse of that. It's going to be hypotenuse over opposite. So now that we know the ratio, all we need to do is utilize it in this triangle. So the hypotenuse is 25 because, again, theta is my reference point. So cosecant of theta is going to be 25 over 12. Done. Let's finish things up. Things to remember about this video. There are a total of 6 trig functions that we need to remember. SOHCAHTOA helps us remember the first 3, the big 3 if you will. But if we know the big 3, we can clearly find the other 3, or the back half 3. Each function has very close ties to its individual inverse. Clearly, like we talked about before, tangent and cotangent work hand in hand. Tangent is sine divided by cosine. Cotangent is just the reverse. Tangent is y over x. Cotangent is x over y. See how easy that is? Number 3. Obviously, when we talk about trigonometry, ratios are very important. So this is one of those things where you're going to have to remember these 6 ratios so you can apply them appropriately in the future. Titan!